Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and this is Doug Lawrence. Welcome to Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Overcoming Adversity. Doug, nice to see you today.
Good to see you too.
I was saying backstage that I love how you're blending with the background. You got some kind of like butterfly motif going on there. It looks very nice.
Yeah, it's butterflies of wisdom.
Well, our topic today is do what you love. Live every day to the fullest. Would you say that that describes you right now, Doug?
Yes. Short answer, yes. Yeah, I obviously my passion, my calling has been the mentoring and the healing of others through mentoring, and that's something that I'm truly passionate about. So I would have to say that I'm doing what I love, and as a result of that, every day it's a new day with new challenges, and it's an opportunity to be the best that I can be.
And speaking of that, Doug, you are doing incredible work around the world. You are an entrepreneur, you are a mentor, you are an international best-selling author. And so for someone just meeting you for the first time, they'd say, wow, this guy's got it all together. Good looking, poised, professional, but yet you've come through a difficult time yourself and you're still dealing with some challenges. Tell us a little bit about what you feel comfortable about sharing with our audience about the fact that it's not just what's on the outside that people see. There's a lot more going on the inside.
No, and that's absolutely, that's bang on, because we all have challenges that we face on a daily basis, and sometimes those challenges are easily dealt with, and sometimes there's an extended period of time that you need to focus on trying to deal with those and basically go on your healing journey. And I know in my particular case, in 2021, I lost my wife, Deborah, to her battle with cancer, our battle with cancer. And I'm still dealing with that. And so how I'm dealing with that is I'm continually searching about different pathways that I can follow in order to make sure that I'm still doing what I love, even though the person that I love is no longer with me, but that I can still continue and live every day to the best of my ability. And sometimes, that's a challenge, but we have to work through those challenges in order to get to where we want to.
Thanks for your honesty and transparency as always, Doug. When I was thinking of the title, Do What You Love, that can really permeate whether it's your professional life, your personal life, your spiritual life. And it can also be by yourself. It can be with a group of people. It can be morphed into many different images. So for some people, any and all of those are impossible in their mind. They feel that it's just not possible to love anything or to actually feel love doing something. What could you share with people who are experiencing that?
Well, I think part of it is, obviously, it's not, I think about different phrases and stuff. And one that seems to always stick in my mind is the one that the title of my book, You Are Not Alone. is that for people to understand that there are always people there if you're willing to reach out and ask for help, that there's always people there that will walk with you and be with you as you continue to struggle, and hopefully as you continue to head down that road to on your healing journey to a better place. And I think it's really important for us all, because I know even for myself, I still periodically have people that I need to reach out to be able to say, I'm really having a tough go here, and I just need a shoulder to cry on, or a shoulder to lean on. But I do need you, and I'm comfortable even being able to say that.
And it feels great just to hear you sharing that, to give people hope, to know that, again, they're not alone. But in order to really not be alone, you have to be open to the concept of asking for help. And I always feel that when we're not, and I've been like this at times in my life, I don't need any help. I don't need anyone to help me do anything. I've got it all, because it was a feeling of weakness and inadequacy that, oh, I can't even do this right. I have to ask for help. But it's actually a sign of strength, isn't it?
To be able to reach out and ask for help, as I describe it, it's to open that door and step out of the closet, and then extend your hand and say to whoever's there, I need help, and here's why. And to be able to do that is not a sign of weakness, but it's actually, as you've so well described, it's a sign of strength to be able to say, okay, I'm recognizing that I'm not able to deal with this on my own. I do need help, and so I'm going to reach out, because I know that there will be somebody there that's going to be there to help me.
Yes, and to me, that's what makes the world a beautiful place, is when we come together as humanity to help one another. So let's go back to doing what you love. What are some things that come to mind? You think, yes, I love to do that.
Oh my goodness. Well, the number one thing for me that is something that I love to do every day is mentoring. And it's being able to build that trusted relationship with somebody, and to be able to watch them grow on a personal and professional level, and to be able to see that. There's nothing better than that from my perspective. So the mentoring is right at the top. The things that I love every day doesn't happen every day, but even just to meet with friends for a cup of coffee on a cloudy day, like today is kind of partially cloudy. Today would be a good day to find somebody to go and have a nice cup of coffee and kind of socialize in a coffee shop and kind of do some of that sort of stuff. And then, there's a number of different things. I could probably go on for hours about things that, that help. I love speaking opportunities. So I haven't had a lot of those lately, but I do know that there's more of those to come, and those give me the opportunity to tell my story and to share that with sometimes pure strangers, but to be able to see them sitting there and nodding their head because they can relate to what it is you're talking about. That's a gift from heaven just by itself.
That's so true, Doug. And when you were up on stages, were you confident and comfortable every time, or was there some kind of behind the scenes, okay, let's get it together, it's going to be all right, breathing exercises, prayers, affirmations? What happens right before you walk onto the stage?
Yeah, I used to go off into a corner and then just close my eyes, and I would visualize the room was packed full of people, and I would visualize delivering my message, and doing so with a great deal of confidence and enthusiasm that I was given this opportunity to do so. So for me, it was sort of that step away, and my back would be to all the people in the room that were coming. And every time I did that, it always went really well. And times where I didn't mentally prepare myself, there were times where I would actually struggle in delivering my message.
Thanks, Doug. And I haven't asked you this, I'm just going to throw it out there. I've heard that one of the ultimate speaking opportunities or engagements is to be a TEDx speaker. Have you ever had any desire to do this, TEDx speech?
I have, and I guess I got as close to it as I possibly could when it was a number of years ago, but I was asked to speak to a group of ladies. It was the One World Summit, and it was a group of, I think there was about 125 ladies that were the audience, and they gave you 20 minutes. You could use PowerPoint, but they preferred not, so I didn't. And it sort of followed the same format as the TEDx stuff, where you're delivering a spiel with limited PowerPoint support, and did the 20 minutes, and I was bang on time wise, and it went really well. I remember so clearly that I had written on a napkin what my agenda was going to be, and I put it on the podium, and I never went anywhere near the podium because I'm not a pacer, but I'm a walker. I like to walk and talk while I'm and that's what I was doing. And I completely forgot that I had this piece of paper on the podium that I could wander over and check to make sure I'm on track and stuff, but didn't need it at all. So that was what I always said, that was my introduction to the TEDx world. So there you go.
There you go. I love that. We actually have one of our team members here, Kim Adele Randall. She's in London, and she recently did a TEDx speech, and she actually did a whole show just about what the process was, and it sounded really interesting. So staying on the topic of things that we love, one thing that you mentioned about having those notes, and we do have things as a tool. Sometimes it could be as a crutch, depending, but you were so into what you were doing, you didn't even need it. And I think that is what comes to mind when I think about things that we love. We can just, like for me, I love working out. Sounds ridiculous. I don't have to prepare. I just go. I go and do what I need to do. So to me, I love to have people think about the freedom, the spontaneousness of doing something that you love, as opposed to having, and this is important too, having plans, but you don't always have to have a plan to do something that you love.
That's true. And sometimes the spontaneous action or activity is sometimes just as good, if not better, than following a script. And I'm sure we've all had experiences. I know I went to speak at a conference, and I didn't know my audience, I guess, because I tried to do the no PowerPoint sort of thing, where I was just going to tell stories about, mentoring and human resources and all that sort of stuff. And it ended up that I should have asked more questions about the audience itself and what they were actually looking for, because what they wanted the PowerPoint, talk to the slide, advance, talk to the slide, advance. And that's what they wanted. They didn't want somebody up there telling stories about, different things, and here's where mentoring could work. They wanted something more tangible that they could actually physically walk out of the room and have something in hand, which they would have had copies of the PowerPoint slides. And it wasn't me they really wanted to listen to.
All right. What about the other part of our title? Live every day to the fullest. Now, for some people, this might mean a legal pad of information, line items. To somebody else, it might be taking a walk in nature and just getting lost in what's going on in the world. What does that look like to you, Doug?
For me, it's more spiritual in nature. I like to be able to sort of sit in my armchair and close my eyes and just allow my mind to go where it wants to go, but to be guided by my spiritual side of who I am as a person, that being guided that way, then it helps me with a sense of purpose. And it helps me live every day. If I follow that mantra and I follow it on a daily basis, it just helps me live each of my living days to the fullest.
Now, thank you, Doug. Some people might be thinking, well, let's see, I went to work, I came home, I ate, I did the dishes, I watched television, I'm exhausted. So that means I lived the day to the fullest. Does exhaustion have a role in living each day to the fullest?
No, it doesn't. No, it's going through all of those things. If you're exhausted at the end of the day, then mentally and quite possibly physically you've had a very trying day, and that's all the more reason to sort of take the step back, because there's a piece that's missing, and that's the piece that the self-care, all of those things, as I call them, the selves, where self-esteem, but in this case it's the self-care part, is now in order to ensure that the day has achieved that being the fullest it possibly can, is we need to take the time to be able to say, okay, I've done all these things, I'm mentally, physically, I'm wasted, I'm tired, but what did I take away from today? So the best way to describe it is, from a reflective standpoint, today, what went well, what didn't go well, and what will I change and do differently tomorrow, because tomorrow gives me another day, another opportunity, another day to demonstrate to myself what I need to do in order for me to be able to say today was a day where I feel fulfilled and I'm living that day to the fullest.
Yeah, I love that idea of having another opportunity tomorrow. And I'm reminded of a period of time in my life. I want to say it was between 2006 and 2011. And I was in my corporate career. I was going for my doctorate. And I also had a part time job because I love doing makeovers. So I was doing people's makeup. And I was running a store on eBay, 60 auctions a week. And I was doing all of the shipping myself. And I got probably 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And I was telling people how full my days are. And the truth is that I was in a very bad relationship. And because I was so unhappy, I was looking to fill every minute of the day so I didn't have to feel the pain that I was in. But at the time, I wasn't aware of that. And I was giving myself all kinds of gold stars because I'm really being productive and living every day to the fullest. What do you say to that, Doug?
No self-care. You were doing what you felt you needed to do in order to feel better about what was going on around you. And what you truly needed to do was to take the step back and sort of say, what do I need to do to self-care, to take care of myself so that I can move forward in that. I know lots of people do exactly what you did, which was they bury themselves in work and they just keep adding more and more logs on the fire, so to speak. And as a result of that, it wears them down, and they eventually end up where their self-care is kind of out the window, and then they start to get sick, and they're more susceptible to illness and things like that. And then they're of little value to anybody because they're just not in a place where they're healthy anymore, and they're not living every day to the fullest, not to the extent that we would like to see them do so.
I totally agree with you, Doug. So, would you say there is a caveat to doing what you love. So in other words, when I was doing all those things, I really loved all the things that I was doing. Now it seems like a lot for one person in one lifetime in that period of time. So is the caveat, do what you love as long as you are doing self-care?
I would say yes. I would, and I look into myself as well, is that I'm only able to take on so much mentoring, so much other stuff, because I can start to tell when I'm getting tired, and my sleep patterns become irregular, and as a result of that, I'm not getting the full rest, and then that's depriving my body of its ability to be able to live every day to its fullest. And so, needing to be able to, it's trying to find that work-life balance, I think, is what we all strive for.
Yes. I also think, though, that there are some people, and maybe I'm including myself at that period of time, that knowing that you have a full plate, that every literal waking moment is occupied, that gives some people solace or peace, because they don't take the time, they don't have the time, they've made it so it's impossible to actually think about some of the things that are really under the surface, or that are really in need of being addressed. Because if I'm busy, and I hate busy, I hate that word busy, if I'm productive, then I don't have to deal with pain. I can push the pain down. And I like to think of it like this, and I think I've used this analogy before, but have you ever seen doors? Like, imagine a big door and it has squares on the door. Have you ever seen this kind of door?
No.
Like so the door has cutouts. Think of a sock drawer. A sock drawer that has an organizer in it. So I've seen this on television. You roll the socks up and you put each two in each section, right? So a lot of times we put our things going on in our life into compartments. And we say, okay, I'm putting these pairs of socks over here in the back in that compartment, and I'm moving up to the front. That's how our brain works, I think. So when we're really productive and we've got a full schedule and we're living each day to the fullest, then we don't have time emotionally, physically, to actually go to the back of our brain or the back of the drawer to deal with those things that really need to be dealt with.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And it's so easy to push those socks to the back, and because in some respects, using the socks as an analogy, the fact that those socks are masking what the actual issue is. And so I need to be able to ask, what's the root cause for that particular type of solution or behavior, and how am I going to deal with that? Because all of a sudden now I'm finding excuses or reasons to not be able to live every day to the fullest, because as you mentioned, you've added all this extra stuff. It makes you happy, but at the end of the day, does it make you happy? Because you need to strive for that work-life balance, that self-care, and all of those things. And if those are missing from your happiness journey, then we're not where we need to be.
That's so true. And I'm just reminded of another example of the story that I was sharing before. I was working in the retail store, a major chain that most people would know the name of. It's in the United States. And I was doing makeovers. And at the same time, I had my BlackBerry phone, the old Blackberries. I don't know if they still exist or not. And I was getting messages from eBay for people who wanted to buy my clothes. So I would literally be doing the makeover and I'd say, excuse me. And then I would go lean down under the counter and check the phone and then get back to the buyer because I didn't want to lose that sale, spray my hands and then come back. And it's really insane. It's insane. I recognized that I could see myself if I were standing outside the counter and watching. You're supposed to be doing one thing. You've got a person there who's looking for guidance. And at the same time, you're trying to be something to somebody else. And we do that, though. We kind of divide ourselves up so that there's nothing to go around for anyone.
Yeah. That's an interesting story to break down, and sort of to be able to say, where was your priority? Was it supposedly supposed to be the person you're doing the makeup for, or was it the unknown customer who was calling on your phone? And so where do I put my priorities, and which one is going to help me in fulfilling what I see as my desirable day, or what the outcomes for my desirable day is going to be. And but we all do what you did. We try to juggle so many different fruit, apples, oranges in the air at the same time, because we think that's what we need to do, when in fact what we really truly do need to do is to take the step back and say, okay, I need to take a look at all of these things kind of in a prioritization process. And I need to be able to say, okay, what's the most important thing? What's going to give me the most satisfaction when I'm finished this particular function or task? What's going to give me the most satisfaction, so that I can continue to go forward on my happy journey and make sure that I'm living every day to the fullest?
I agree with you, Doug. And I think what's also important for our viewers and our listeners is, and I'm going to use both of us as an example, before you're a TV show host, before you're an entrepreneur, before you're an international certified mentor, before you're an international best-selling author, you're a human being who has to feel good about himself before you can be any of those things to anyone else. And the same thing for me, television producer, coach, et cetera, et cetera. But many times when we don't feel good about ourselves because of something going on in our life, if I step into the uniform of television host or author, I feel better about myself, because now I'm wearing this label, I'm wearing this title. I see you smiling. What's coming up for you?
Well, I just keep thinking of probably one of the first people that I mentored, and she was a young lady that was struggling she ended up being referred to me because she was trying to get a different job than the one she had, because the environment was toxic and all that stuff. And so we started to meet and have conversations. And the way I always used to describe her, still do to this day, is here was a young lady who, when she walked into the room pre-meeting me, that she was casting a shadow of darkness, and that the room was just dark because of her presence in the room. We went through a makeover, as I called it, where we dealt with her self-esteem, self-confidence. We redid her resume, cover letter, ended up getting her 3 or 4 interviews. She got hired by a large corporation, and she became the advocate for positive energy in that organization. So it was all of that. But here was the punchline to the story, was that after her going through the self-affirmations that I had her do and all of that stuff, she would walk into a dark room and the room would light up because of her positive energy that she now had. And I always tell that story when I'm dealing with organizations that are struggling with positive energy and all those good things that they need to do to help their employees go forward. So it was a story that came to me when you were saying what you were just finished saying. So yeah.
Yeah, you know what I always love about our interaction is that we can relate to what each other is saying. And to me, that means that regardless of who you are or where you are, we're all experiencing the same type of thing, maybe not at the same exact time. So I really want people to think about what it is that they love and possibly what's keeping them from doing that. I know we talked about this also before, Doug. We come up with a lot of excuses. I'd love to go on that trip. I'd love to get a massage, but I can't because I'm too busy. And we step into that. It's almost like you're standing still and you step into that. I'm in the busy area right now. I don't want to step out over here because I'm afraid that that's going to be me. I'm going to have to see me not being busy, me not wearing the label, the uniform, whatever it is. So what are some things that people can do that they can give themselves grace and permission to find out what it is that they love to do and then do it?
I would suggest that at this particular stage, they would get a sense, a feeling of when they're doing something that is actually contributing to their happiness. And that's the important part. And I think if we come at this from the angle of that if I'm happy, if I'm doing things that make me happy, then I'm doing what I love, and I'm going to end up as a result of that living every day to the fullest. And so take it back to the aspect of happiness and think of, like, when I think of, all sorts of different things, as a good example was on the weekend, Father's Day, and I had a couple invitations. And as a result of that, I was left with a sense of feeling fulfilled and happy because I got to spend some time with my grandchildren, with my son and his wife, with my daughter and her husband and their family. So that all brought happiness and helped me in order to be able to look in the mirror and say, today was a day that I lived to the fullest, and here are the reasons why.
And I think also, Doug, in alignment with what you're sharing, and I've heard this before from people who are in relationships, whether you're married, you're not married, living together or not, one person will say, I've worked really hard and now I want to do something for me. And the other person will say, I don't think so, because before you're doing that, this, and this has to be done around this house. This garage needs to be, whatever it is. Why do you get to go do whatever when I'm stuck here in the house doing whatever? And so we want to do self-care, but we also need to have some understanding with the people in our home environments. Do you agree?
And it boils down to our favorite word, communication. We need to be able to communicate. We have all these things to do. And what is it? How are we going to accomplish that? What can I do to help you? And conversely, here's what you can do to help me, so that at the end of the day, we both will have that happy time that we can go and do what we want to do individually, if that's what you're looking for, or as a couple. And, depending upon the nature and health of your relationship, that will drive sort of what path you decide to take.
Yes, it definitely will. It definitely will. So, Doug, I know that I really love chocolate. I love it. I love chocolate and peanut butter. And to me, when I think about doing what I love, I'd love to have more of that. I'd love to eat more of it. But at some point, it's not good. And that can also be in life, doing things that we love. Another example, I love to work out. I love to lift weights. Well, I have to stop at a certain point because it's too much. The body goes, hello, I need a break over here. What is that called? Or what is the pivotal point when we realize I love it, but I have to have a boundary?
Well, I love chocolate too, but I know that there's one person that will be kind of looking over my shoulder, and that's my doctor, who says, okay, all right, 4 chocolate bars a day, probably not a good idea. So let's kind of scale that back a little bit to something a little more healthier, or maybe you have to cut it out completely if you don't know how to manage it. So I can, I can relate. I think that what we need to do is, in order for us to continue to be able to live every day to the fullest, we need to, in the case of the chocolates, is we need to determine what is healthy and what is manageable, and that becomes our kind of our go-to going forward. But to continue on with that 4 to 5 chocolate bar a day fix, that's not going to give us the opportunity to live those days to the fullest at all.
All right, now I want to go along with your analogy because I've actually done that, but not with chocolate bars. I've done it with Reese's peanut butter cups. And so what I would do is I would say to myself, okay, you can have 5 because there's 120 calories. It's now 220. I'm not sure what happens in however many years for 100 more calories. But I would actually sit on my spin bike and I would eat them while I was spinning, and I'd spin really fast. And I'd say, okay, spin really fast. I'm burning up the calories so that I justify. I know how crazy that sounds, but I'm bringing it up not just to embarrass myself, but because we make deals with ourselves all the time.
Yeah, we do. Instead of 4 or 5 chocolate bars, I now have it where I take a chocolate bar out of the fridge and I break it into half. And I'm allowed to have half a chocolate bar a day, and that's it, no more. And there's times where I get to a point where that half chocolate bar, that's too much and I can't eat it all. So I don't try to, cram it in there and eat the whole thing. I put it away or I add it to the other half. And then I still stick to my half a chocolate bar guideline. So, or I can either that or eat just a segment that I couldn't eat before, so that I'm not overindulging and allowing, so that I don't have, I'm not managing anything. I've allowed the chocolate to manage me and my life, and I don't want that.
That's such a good point that you have taken control. You're in charge. Now, if you on a weekend, you said, hey, I'm going for the entire chocolate bar, I'm eating the whole thing, you'd be able to the next day to say, okay, now because I did that, I have to make some changes and I'm going to go back to what I was doing. But other people are not able to do that. And then they get completely derailed. And that's when their life starts to become out of control.
But there's also a reason why they're eating chocolate. And sometimes we need to sort of find, mine is I do that because, number one, if Deborah was still here, I wouldn't be eating that much chocolate. And number two, I think it has become a bit of a crutch for me just because of the loneliness and that. So I have to do something that's going to make me happy. And having half a chocolate bar supposedly is the answer to my question, I guess.
I can relate with what you're saying, and I agree with you. I want to bring up something that a guest brought up. This guest is an author, and she speaks about the pleasure ladder, and that the various stages of the pleasure ladder, that it sort of is in alignment, I believe, with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But if you look at the basic needs, okay, you basic needs, we know what they are, we don't have to go through it, and you move up. So as you get to the highest level where you really experience pleasure, it has nothing to do with food. We're using food as an example today. It has to do with affirmations. It has to do with gratitude. And so when you're living in a true state of joy, all of those things that we succumb to are really not necessary. And I don't agree with that, because I also think that we're here for a short period of time. And if we want to have the chocolate bar, as long as it's not an entire, you're not going like gallons of ice cream when it's out of control and intellectually that this can't be healthy. But I also think that it is okay to have the chocolate bar or have whatever it is, as long as it's in moderation. And she doesn't agree with that.
That's interesting, because I also know that if I do more than the half chocolate bar, that there comes a time where I don't want any chocolate. In fact, the idea of even hauling a bar out of the fridge, actually, the best word I can think of is disgusts me. And I go, why would you want that? So sometimes when I go grocery shopping, instead of buying a couple of chocolate bars, I take myself back to how it made me feel 3 days ago, and I choose to not buy any more chocolate bars, certainly for that shopping day in any event.
I'm just imagining you in the aisle with the cart and you because I've been there too. My thing is tasty cakes. You have them in Canada?
I don't think so, no.
They have all different ones, but chocolate cupcake with vanilla icing and then the vanilla stuff in the middle. It's that stuff in the middle that I love. And you've the cart right there and you're saying to yourself, just keep going. And it's so easy to just keep going, but no, you stop, you look, you have a conversation. Well, maybe I'll just get one box and I'll ration it over a couple of weeks. And as you're picking, this is me I'm talking about, as I'm picking it up, I'm saying, no, no. Then it goes into the cart. And then I get home like, oh, why did I get it? I actually did this, Doug, and the box is unopened downstairs, but I'm thinking about opening it.
Ooh,
What do you say to that?
don't go there. It may be calling your name, but don't hear that voice.
Because when we give in, that means that we're in a weakened state, as opposed to being an empowered state where we have control, saying, no, I don't need you. I'm fine without you.
Yeah, we are in a weakened state. And I know for a fact that when I get that pull, that tug to come and buy a chocolate bar, so to speak, that I know that I'm making a decision in the time of of weakness. And so I am better off to sort of say to myself, okay, you can have, a chocolate bar, but let's wait and maybe let's go down a couple different aisles and sort of see what else is there. Maybe there's something else that we may want to try. And if I do that, then chances are by the time I get done my circle around the grocery store, I could care less about a chocolate bar by then. And I've learned through that process that that's how I can manage that craving versus it managing me.
Excellent tips. You're inspiring me, Doug. The box is going to remain closed at least for today. So I'm going to,
Yeah.
and that's another thing. It's step by step.
Yeah.
If I were to say, Doug, I'm never going to have a tasty cake again, I'm setting myself up for failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely are. And even what is it? Fail is first attempt in learning. And even in using that, it's hard to justify taking those cakes out of the freezer or the fridge and saying, I'm just going to have one.
Yes. Or half of one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either or.
And I just want to summarize that we're talking about food, but the same can be true for people who are toxic entities in our life. And we gravitate to them over and over again because it is comfortable. It's comfortable to sit and eat the tasty cakes. It really is. But I'm going to pay the price later. And it's the same thing with toxic relationships. We know what to expect because it's the same pattern of behavior, but we know how we're going to feel. And it's like 10 times, 1,000 times more than how I'm going to feel with the tasty cake.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's so good when it goes down there, but it's because I know yesterday was kind of a not so great day. So I had the chocolate was calling my name, and I had to put up a bit of a battle to sort of get it to kind of rescind its desire to get me to buy in. And having said that, once I did that, I was okay. And I went and had a piece of fruit instead, and that seemed to work.
We're inspiring people to have a healthy lifestyle. I hope that's what they're going to be taking away from this, because the healthy lifestyle, the path can have some tasty cakes here and there. And we have to make decisions. But when the path is riddled with tasty cakes or riddled with chocolate or riddled with toxic people, that's when we have an issue. Doug, do you have your book that you can share with our viewers and listeners?
I do. I have You Are Not Alone. So, and you can get that at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. It's available there. I'll just see if I can grab a short. I think we can do this one here. So if you're one of many mentors who want to make a difference, excuse me, but you're sometimes not sure if you have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to make that difference, then this book is for you too. You may not be comfortable yet in dealing with situations such as mental health or post-traumatic stress. That is where the book will give you the tools that you need to feel more at ease in working with people who want to experience healing with you. Just imagine the feeling that you'll get to experience by helping someone deal with this turmoil. There's no greater reward than that.
Thank you so much, Doug. If you would please share with our audience, how is it that they can connect with you and hire you to work with them?
So you can reach out to me through LinkedIn. So just do a search and I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so it'll pop up, and then direct message me through LinkedIn. You can also reach me on my website at www.talentc.ca and go to the contact page and then just send me a message and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. But probably the easiest pathway to take is to just send me an email message at doug.lawrence@talentc.ca, and I'll get back to you right away, and we can have a conversation about, what you're looking for and whether or not I'm the right person that you're searching for, and we can kind of go from there. And just know that I leave no one on the island by themselves.
Thank you, Doug. And before we go, have you on Spotlight, I know there's a special announcement that you're going to be sharing as you have some exciting things that are coming up for you. Please let our audience know about what's going to happen after next week.
Well, next week will be the last two shows that I'm going to be doing. And it is with a great deal of sadness that I have to announce that. Dr. Jacalyn and I make a great team, and, we're able to get our messages out to, the world, everybody that's part of the USA Global TV and radio platform. But for me, the time has come for me to move on. And a large part of that is because of, the efforts of Dr. Jacalyn to promote what it is that I do. And as a result of that, I have some very exciting opportunities in the mental health mentoring space where I'm going to be able to help so many more people. And that's important, as you probably gathered from today. That's what I love, and that's how I'm going to be able to live every day to the fullest, is by fulfilling those. I'm doing some great work in the bereavement space, and I'm totally taken aback by all the opportunities that just have started to materialize, and that means a lot to me. So thank you to Dr. Jacalyn and to, the USA Global TV and radio platform for helping me get to where I'm headed. It means a lot.
Thank you, Doug. I really appreciate that. And I'm sure our team members do as well. And you've shared incredible amount of knowledge and expertise and in a very transparent and humble way. So I thank you. I will miss working with you, but we will still be friends and we'll be back next week. So
Yes.
the most important thing is for people to realize that Doug is here, even though he's not going to be here per se. You can reach out to him and you can still contact him. You can still work with him. You can also find all of his shows over on our YouTube channel. So, Doug, we are signing off for today. Right now, our next show is coming up, which is Have I Got a Course for You? And our guest is Anthony Willoughby from the United Kingdom, and our co-host is Mr. Red O'Loughlin. So we'll be back shortly. Thank you, everyone. Bye, Doug.
Bye-bye. Take care,
Bye.
everybody.